My entitled aunt desperately wants to buy back the house she sold to my sister for less than a third of the price. My entitled aunt has been the primary source of headache for us as a family emotionally and monetarily. She would always ask my mom and dad for a loan that would take years for her to pay. Where those loans go is one of our biggest questions to date. And whenever my mom or my eldest sister would ask her for the payment, she would always play the I'm family card and be all emotional to play on my mom's emotions. My mom has a soft spot with her family and she would most likely let it slide. But not my eldest sister. She would constantly remind and warn my aunt to pay her debts or she'll do something about it. My aunt would then turn to my mom asking for protection from my sister, to which my mom would talk to my sister about it. My sister though is not having it and is just relentless on her pursuit of making my aunt pay her debts. This got to a point where my aunt warned to sue my sister if she doesn't stop, to which my sister openly invited. Ultimately, our aunt paid but not without any parting words of how our family are a bunch of rude people and that she would never ever talk to us again. And such. But after a month or so, she made up with my mom and everything was well. Except for my eldest sister. So for context, my aunt put her house up for sale due to her children moving out. Initially, she said that the house was getting too big for me to keep and maintain and that she'd plan on buying a nice condominium near the downtown area. My uncle didn't want her to sell it to someone they do not know or at least does not have an affinity to, so she suggested to sell the house to a relative or a super close friend. My aunt then talked to my youngest sister and pitched her the idea of buying the house from her. At first, my sister didn't really want to entertain the idea of buying a house at this point in time as they have two kids that they are sending to a not-so-cheap school. But my aunt then pulled the sentimental value card and said that it would be a shame if the house was sold to someone else. Admittedly though, the house did have sentimental value for us siblings and cousins. We used to spend our summers over there as it's in a pretty nice neighborhood and we have friends there as well. A basketball court is fronting the house which is a win-win situation since they both have boys and her husband is a good basketball player. My aunt saw this as an opportunity for the boys and her husband to train or whatever. To my aunt's credit, she did have a nice pitch to my sister so I got to give her that. My sister and her husband discussed this in length. My sister and her husband decided to buy the house as they have long planned to have a house of their own. But her husband's grandmother begged them to stay at the current house they're living in until his grandmother can return back as she was sorting something out from a different city. So they decided to have at least until they are ready to move. My eldest sister, who by the way was against all of this, helped with all the contract and legal stuff so they can cover all their bases. The house and lot was sold for more or less 1 million pesos. My sister gave my aunt a more than generous amount of time to move out. When the time came that everything was moved out, my sister and her husband decided to pay a visit to their recently bought house and see to what extent the renovation would be. And to their surprise, the condition of the house was a literal crap hole. The walls and ceiling were falling apart, the tiles on the floor were chipped or starting to get chipped, the main bedroom was a mess, and the kitchen smelled like someone died in there for weeks. Although my aunt did disclose that some renovation work would be needed, but she never disclosed that the house was that effed up. But whatever, they decided to have the house renovated in it.